Char?
Call the meeting to order.
Please.
Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just put the flag
Yeah,
down.
let's put that flag back.
Should have thought of that years ago.
Chair for 2018.
I move Fred Arnold for chair.
Any other nominations?
I was going to nominate Justin from District 2.
I appreciate it. I'm going to decline, though. I appreciate it, Teresa.
Reason why you don't want to?
Yeah.
Don't want it.
Any other nominations? We have a motion and a second.
Oh, you need a second?
Need a second.
Well, we should have a second.
Yeah, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations, Chairman.
You gotta move over there.
No, well, I don't know what the,
You want
Protocol is
to
to
stay there, or you want to move over?
You would have to move over in Jack's place.
Do I go
Next
sit
to
out
Sean.
there then?
Yeah, and you go.
okay.
Yeah.
Here's a
Sure.
quick suggestion. If Fred moves here, it's because it's easier to sign bills and papers and stuff. My suggestion would
We
be
should
that
all
we
move
all
down.
move incrementally to kind of stay somewhat in order. Is that
I think it's a good
Does that
idea.
work?
Yep. I think that's a good idea.
But I
Justin,
sat here for 7
Fred?
years.
Is that right?
Oh heavens, we can't change that much.
It's funny, Justin didn't have any good suggestions when I was
Never helped you a bit, did he?
first 15 seconds, he's got a good idea.
the only one, too, right?
All right, there's the gavel.
Here, I'm going to do this, Scott. Instead of moving jackets.
Yep.
Move chairs.
Here, you take this one. That's my jacket.
Okay.
That's your chair.
Oh, okay, I'm getting, that wasn't
And then we got an extra here.
Somewhere,
Here, Scott. You want
somewhere there's an
We
iPad
got two extra
floating
chairs.
around.
Yeah.
Justin,
Yes, sir.
could you hand me that?
This? Or what is?
There's an iPad floating around someplace.
Yeah, it's right here.
Thanks,
Scott.
or me?
I have no idea. Oh, Freddie, I think. Is it this one, Fred? Or is this yours?
Yeah,
Scott?
that's
That's
Fred's.
Fred's.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Cool.
Teresa, is that yours or?
Yes.
It looks
Sorry
pretty
about
organized.
that.
No, that's good.
This is yours, Scott.
Yep. All golden, huh?
I have a couple cards that I need from the AMC. My water glass.
Nice spot here, Scott.
Yeah, that's a nice little corner. Kind of liked it.
Okay, now that we're reorganized, nominations for vice chair.
I'll make a motion for Scott as vice chair.
I would second that.
Any further nominations?
Do I have to move?
No.
Good. I will. I can
Okay.
try it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Now I need to get a little bit reorganized and get my agenda in front of me. Okay. Next item, is there anyone with some public comment this morning? No.
Morning, Commissioners. Bruce Chemical from Caledonia. I would say Happy New Year, but I don't like the weather. Say, why don't you move south? Well, I can't. I have 3 questions. The county website gives the date of December 8th, 1998 as the adoption date for the comprehensive land use plan for the county. Last year, there was a brief discussion amongst you with regard to possibly looking at the comprehensive plan in this year of 2018. I've been trying to find out whether or not the state requires comprehensive plans to be reviewed every 10 years. I find it for municipalities, but not for the county, but then again, it could be the case. In any event, it seems to be a 10-year anniversary. Is it your intention of looking at the comprehensive plan?
I can answer that because Mr. Locker and I have had a couple of conversations about it. In fact, I think he's talked about it at a meeting here, that is definitely something that's on the agenda.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you. At last month's Planning Commission hearing on the Skyline Materials proposed expansion at the Winnebago Quarry on County 5, just south of here, the Planning Commission learned of a notice of violation that had been issued by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency against Skyline on August 2, 2017. The property owner adjacent to the south side of the mining property has had harm to their land due to the illegal storm water discharge from the mine area. Has the zoning office given you, the board, a notice of certification on the non-compliance of that as required by the zoning ordinance 2712 on page 144?
Officially in front of the board? I don't know if
Yeah.
we've got anything or not.
Not that I know.
Not that
Or
I
in
recall.
communication to you? Have you given notice to Skyline Materials that a provision of Section 27 has been violated? And that have you set a time for a hearing on this matter as prescribed in Section 2713 subdivisions 1 and 2 on page 144?
I think you better email those to us so we can check them out.
I'll just give them to you right here.
That'd be
Thank you
great.
very much. If I may approach.
Yeah, these are things that
Thank you.
maybe could have been directed to Mr. Locker, Mr. Locker's office.
Bruce, could I get a copy for the record? Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment this morning?
Good morning, Commissioners. Congratulations, Chairman Arnold. I also want to kind of
Just a second. For the record, name and where you live.
Michael Fields, Winnebago. I also want to talk about the Skyline mine next to my farm, peripherally. But the main issue I'd like to get out there is I think
Mike, would you please use the microphone? We can,
that
those of us in front can probably hear you okay, but the people in back.
testing.
Ah,
Okay.
It's on.
bingo.
Okay. I think it's time we revisit the zoning ordinance, specifically Section 3, that contains a lot of definitions for things. I've had a problem with this whole process where the zoning ordinance puts a 40-acre limit on the size of aggregate mines, yet we're in a situation now where a mine now owns 55.5 acres. And that was kind of a big surprise to me. These are the comments that I didn't read during the Planning Commission meeting in order to save some time. But anyway, the whole process from the drafting of the new mineral extraction section of the ordinance all the way up to and including that Planning Commission meeting has been kind of sneaky and deceptive, punctuated by a lot of stonewalling. And even though we were invited to weigh in, at no time was it ever explained to the general public that mine meant already excavated acres or acres expected to be excavated. Who knew that mine meant just a small fraction of what a reasonable person thought it meant? When we first found out about this proposed expansion back in February, we wrote to the zoning administrator asking if the new mine size restriction would apply to the Skyline expansion. You can imagine what we were thinking. He wrote, "As you point out in your message, there are limits to the maximum area that a cup can cover. These limits apply to the property you referenced." Oh, what a relief, right? Can't get any bigger than 40 acres. He had to know what we meant by that question because we are lay people and we're using the generally accepted meaning of the word mine, even though it may have some different meaning in industry jargon, and I'm not sure that that's even the case. If he had added, quote, "This of course means a 40-acre parcel can merge with a 15.5-acre parcel to create 55.5 acres of mining territory," well, we might not have felt so placated. And as recently as the October 17 board meeting, Chairman Miller asked point blank how mine size was determined. Since the purpose of that particular meeting was to get the EAW rubber stamped, the zoning administrator very narrowly confined his answer to the EQB threshold for EAWs. He cited Minnesota Rules 4410-4300, which made it seem as though the state had developed some kind of formula for doing this. The Minnesota Rules 4410, 4300 are simply administrative rules for determining which governmental body has authority over various kinds of EAWs. I scoured the entire EQB website. There was no formula for determining mine size, much less one that provides guidance for a cup application. Minnesota Rules does not define what constitutes a mine at all. As far as I know, this notion of only counting excavated acres or acres expected to be excavated only applies to the Environmental Quality Board for EAWs and for taxation. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but then explain why the public was not apprised of this rather arcane definition during the drafting of the mineral extraction section. You have to know that at least a couple of people would have had a thing or two to say about that, had we known. Now I have to wonder if the Board of Commissioners even knew what they were voting on when they approved the final draft of the mining ordinance. Did the board understand that this was the definition of mine when you voted to approve the mineral extraction section? This is not a rhetorical question. Did you guys know about that? Or did you think 40-acre mine meant it can't get any bigger than 40 acres?
Mr. Fields, that approval was, I think, about 18 months ago. So you have three people here who, well, I happened to be in the room at the time, but you basically have three people who weren't in office at the time that that was approved.
The two who were.
Now, this discussion, basically, you feel that
We were tricked.
you feel that the ordinance needs to be reviewed, and specifically Section 3.
Section
Is
3.
that the idea? Now, the technicalities of that, we can't deal with that here, Mike. We can't.
I'm not asking.
It's a
you
planning,
here,
it's
I'm
a
just
planning
asking,
commission.
did
It's a
you know what
planning
you were
commission,
voting for?
sir. It is a planning commission issue, okay?
But the board had to give final approval to that mineral extraction section before it got put into the zoning ordinance.
And that particular section will be reviewed along with the rest of it.
Okay, and then to conclude, Section 3 of the zoning ordinance defines various terms, but unbelievably doesn't get around to such crucial terms as mine, quarry, parcel, site, expansion. But they do define other things. I mean, and this is pretty important. So we have to understand what these words mean before we can make any kind of informed decisions.
Mr. Fields, we've got a lot of other business this morning. We really do understand.
I'm sorry I'm wasting your valuable time,
No.
Chairman, but I've got two more sentences to read. May I
Okay,
read them?
fine. conclude it quickly.
Not
then.
having
Thank you.
these terms defined in the zoning ordinance amounts to a jobs program for lawyers. How many other words in the zoning ordinance have hidden meanings? We need to get back into that zoning ordinance and get this stuff straightened out, because right now, like I said, jobs program for lawyers.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, now let's see. Human Resources Director. Oh, excuse me. I'm sorry. I have neglected to fulfill one of my jobs as chair. We need to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve agenda.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, now the next minutes, yes. The minutes of last meeting,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Same sign? Okay. Now, I'm sorry. I will get used to this job eventually.
Good morning, Commissioners, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank you, Shar.
And we're very thankful to maintenance. The furnaces are all working just fine this morning, as compared to the heater in my car. Well, we have one item on the agenda, and that's for Human Services, and it is, we are very excited to request the approval of the assignment of Michelle Mossman as a full-time probationary forensic social worker. That's a C41. She would be assigned at Step 4, effective January 22nd, 2018. Let me just make a side comment regarding the Step 4. You don't normally see that on our proposals. Pursuant to the contract the county has with the union and also our past practice with regards to non-represented employees, when we have a promotional opportunity, we promote persons to the next step or 3%, whichever is greater. Ms. Mossman has been with the county for a considerable period of time and was at actually a Step 5 prior to this. So this is the next financial step that is 3% or greater. Would you like to comment on her history?
Is mine on? Okay, good. We're very excited to have Michelle want to move from child support into our forensic social work position, which is a new position for us. Michelle comes, as Tess said, with considerable years of experience here at the county. For us, that is very valuable, as she already has relationships built with the county attorney's office and probation and the jails and court system, which is what this position is going to be working with. So she's already has those relationships, and we can start, day one that Michelle moves to this position with moving forward with our plans and hopes for this forensic social worker.
And I might add to that, she has experience prior to being with the county, working with and the social services setting and with children, and has a criminal justice educational background as well. So she is very well-rounded and brings a lot of experience and educational preparation to the table for this position.
I'll make a motion to approve Michelle Mossman as forensic social worker.
Second.
I would make one observation on this. We started hearing about this over 6 months ago. There was a meeting in the Criminal Justice Center basement, couple hours of meeting about this, and I've forgotten. It was Olmsted County that sent a couple of people here to talk about this situation, and I know there's been a lot of dialogue with Olmsted County and with other counties about this position, and I I felt at the time that we talked about it, when I was at that meeting with Olmsted County, I felt then that we really should move in that direction, and I'm glad to see that it's happened. Any other discussion?
I'm just wondering if we could do any training for Michelle with Olmsted County?
Olmsted County is very willing to communicate with us and do some cross-training, as is Blue Earth County. So we'll be reaching out to our partners to see what would be the most beneficial for us.
They seem to have it down pretty good already.
Yes.
Okay, are we ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Commissioners. As you know, this was a competitive search for social workers, and that we had external applicants as well as internal applicants. Michelle comes from Houston County. This leaves us with a vacancy in our Child Support Division. And so at this time, we respectfully request that you approve a competitive search for a Child Support Officer. That is a B24.
Motion to approve a search for child support officer.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
And that's all I have on the agenda for today, unless you have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Podozensky.
Ooh, good idea.
Thanks, Tess.
Yeah, good thinking.
Just for the camera. I know you know who you are.
Well, none.
Thank you.
Not every day.
It's good. It's good that somebody keeps track of us.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Lauren and Brian.
I brought Maintenance Supervisor Pat Burns and our mechanic Shane along with us today. We are recommending the purchase of various pieces of equipment. The main item here that has our timeline crunch for us is that whenever we purchase a plow truck, when we purchase it in January, we get it in about middle to late December. So plow truck that was purchased last January, we didn't receive until, was it the week of Thanksgiving, or week of Christmas, or the week prior to that?
The 19th is when we went to get it.
19th of December is when we finally got that truck. So it takes a long time to get that. So we wanted to come in and request just getting all of our equipment to purchase right away. The stuff that we don't, that we get quicker, 3 months out is about the beginning of construction season. So.
We don't actually pay for it till we get it.
We don't pay for it until we get it, yes.
It's just ordering it.
Yep. So what we have for recommendation to purchase, almost all of these are off the state bid. We have a sprayer unit. Currently, we spray with a homemade sprayer unit that has 250-gallon tank on it, mounted onto a tractor. It takes us about 3 months to spray half to 2/3 of the county. A lot of time that we were out there spraying, going around, reloading that tank. Getting a sprayer unit that has a bigger tank, we can hopefully get the entire county sprayed in less than a month, 3 to 4 weeks. So
How many gallons is that?
1,000 gallons.
And the one we're proposing is 1,000 gallons.
Yep.
It's bootless as well, so it'll be real handy.
So it's not necessarily for like road ditches if it's boomless? Or are you talking
It
like
is
with a
for-
wand?
It is for road ditches. It's got a wand with 150 foot, but when we spray, it'll be booomless. Like MnDOT's got.
Oh,
they
I
spray
see.
all their ditches and back to the right of way.
Put the nozzle on the right-hand side so it
Yep.
sprays out. I
Yep.
gotcha.
And there's
Yeah.
actually 9 nozzles, so you can shoot from 2 feet all the way to 37 feet, and you can turn on and off any ones you want, so.
Yeah,
Thousand's what they spray out of the shop up here with, isn't it?
What's that,
The
1,000?
1,000 that we see
Yeah.
go around with the
Yeah.
state is 1,000, right?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so the state has different models and stuff. This is, we met with the state, we met with Winona County, talked to suppliers. This should be a very good equipment, make us more efficient, and try to free up some staff time to help get some other work done. The second item I have is the purchase of a new plow truck. The price of that truck would be $259,834.27. So about $250,000. It's an expensive piece of equipment. Looking to replace either a 2006 or 2007 plow truck. So it's going to be replacing a plow truck that's 11 or 12 years old. Trying to keep in our rotation. The third item is a new mechanics truck. Our mechanics truck is a 2003 mechanics truck. It's had some engine issues in the past. It's a 15-year-old truck. It has its age. It has some problems with it. We've looked at all kinds of options trying to find used equipment and new. And we feel that the best deal for the county is to purchase a new mechanics truck and box. Both items would be off the state bid. Total combined $123,606.40. I can let Shane provide more insight into that truck if you have any questions. Next item after that then would be a new compact track loader. We purchased a John Deere track loader back in 2014, 4 years worth of use on it. We went out to, I don't know if it's 5 or 6 different, 4 different? 4, yeah. Okay. 4 different suppliers of that. The best price that we got and was from Bobcat of the Coulee region. When you factor in the trade-in value, the net cost would be $18,223.15. So that amounts to about $450 or $4,500 per year for that current, or actually less than that even for the unit that we currently have. Or slightly over that, I guess. Minus the cost of what we spent on it in parts and stuff. But it's a good piece of equipment that they're offering us, good trade-in value. I think it would be a good deal for the county to make the trade and get a new loader at this time. And then we're also recommending purchase of a new survey truck and box. The survey truck would be off the state bid. The box from Michael's Truck Equipment, that one's $15,308. That is not a state bid item. However, Michael's has given us good prices in the past, and the cost is under $25,000. So we just went to Michael's to get a price for a custom-made box. They custom-made our current box. New box would be manufactured pretty much identical to the current box. So the final other large truck would be to replace a 2003 pickup. Survey truck is a 2003 truck as well. Final item then is to replace a 2003 pickup for our inspectors. I can go on, but that's a lot of equipment right there. So
where's Ranger Chevrolet?
Ranger, do you know where they're?
Just north of the cities. We've got them from a couple different places, but I think they're just north of the cities.
Never heard of them.
It's just they're on the state bid quite a bit, or they bid with the state quite often.
Yeah, it seems like
Last question. This is more just for my own curiosity. This sprayer, that's the external. I was looking at a picture of it. That's got like the external where you don't have to mix the chemical, right? Has it got the separate tank on it? It looked like.
We do have to mix it.
Oh, okay.
Like the state, theirs it has the injector system.
Yeah.
But they have so many different chemicals. We usually stick with 2 or 3 chemicals.
Oh,
So
okay.
it saved us like $50,000 to get rid of the injectors.
Oh, okay.
But we won't have to deal with it so much. The people, we won't have to. I mean, it's more pump. It's got a pump siphon in it. So you just pump it in, your liquid, your chemical, and your water. So our guys aren't up there dumping 2.5 gallon jugs in.
Okay, I guess that was my question.
And then it's got an agitator in it.
Good,
So it'll
okay.
mix it for it. But
Cool.
It'll be nice that we don't have to deal with the chemicals hands-on so much.
Right. Yeah.
It's a nice unit. I looked at the states, and then Chuck, he's our sprayer guy. We went with him and showed us how to use it, and it is very nice.
Yeah, it does. It looks nice. Well, especially with all the invasives and all the issues going on.
Yeah, there's a lot.
It's tough to keep ahead of it.
It's kind of a hot topic right now.
Yeah.
And like Brian said, within 3 to 4 weeks, we should cover the entire county versus not even getting the entire county done with the old sprayer.
Well, and the other thing too is spraying so timely, to
Right.
get it before it starts
Such a
to.
small
That's
window.
the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the track loader.
Skid
Yes.
loader, yeah.
Or skid 2014.
Yep.
and you've had trouble with the tracks or whatever. So John Deere says it's the same price whether it works or it doesn't? I mean, I don't get it. We haven't been able to get any kind of compensation, or we'll get you a piece of equipment that works, or, I mean, it's not even, it's 3 years old.
Yeah, so this, yeah, so for the, John Deere has made, they've swapped out different parts at their cost for us on some of the components within that, for the track issue. Ultimately,
It's come down to nobody knows why it's happening. Nobody can figure out a reason and why it didn't get a lemon. We don't know.
but, when you look at the overall, number of hours we put on that machine, we're getting offered $44,500 to trade in that current unit, for a net total of $18,223 for 4 years worth of use. That's when you look at equipment of this size, that's a good price for us to swap it out now.
Brian, when we get into that much usage, are we talking the possibilities of lease might be a better deal for us than outright purchase?
When you look at most suppliers, when you look at most of them don't want to do a direct lease. What they want to do, or if they do, then they set the number of hours at such a low rate, it makes it kind of difficult. What most suppliers do, and whether it's a skid steer, a compact track loader, a motor grader, a front end loader, whatever it is that they do a buyback program. You buy the equipment, and then they offer to buy it back from you in a year. You essentially swap it out with a new machine in a year. But the initial purchase is done by the county, and then every year you can swap it out. So, at this point, John Deere has said they would be willing Bobcat has said they would be willing to buy this machine back to us and get us the newer version of the same model next year for $7,500. So, if you want to do it, 1 year at a time, it's essentially you just keep trading it in every year. Not fully the same as a lease, but that's how the equipment manufacturers.
And Pat,
do it
you
for
said
this
you
type of
checked out
equipment.
the lease program
I
pretty
did.
thoroughly,
Right.
and it just didn't pan.
Typically in the lease programs, they don't even want to trade in your machine. They'll do an in-house lease, but you have to sell your machine on a state website or wherever you want to sell your equipment on an auction site. And Bobcat offered this in the past. On this John Deere, we bought the extended warranty. I don't know if you guys remember that or not. Bobcat, they all do offer extended warranty as well, but it was $5,600 for a 3-year extended warranty through Bobcat, which is bumper to bumper, front to back. Or it's $7,500 to do the buyback program at the end of the 12 months, and you got your full warranty for that 12 months. So I guess our recommendation talking about it was to spend the extra $1,900 and stay in a new machine every year and not have all those extra maintenance costs to go with it in the future. And yeah, we did look into the lease programs, and this was a cheaper way to go than the lease. And we don't have to deal with getting rid of the John Deere that we have.
I spent a lot of time on the phone with Cat, Kubota, Bobcat, all of them. It's weird because they do. It's a lease, but it's not a lease.
Right.
It's kind of the same thing. Like you get the vehicle for X amount of years and you turn it back in and whatever. I guess I would like to see us go more on a. I guess that style of a program versus buying outright every 5 or 10 years. Because even at 10 years, at $7,000, let's say, you're still at $70,000, which is the price of a new one. But at 10 years, you've had 10 new ones. You know what I mean? Like,
Right, you've got no equipment
Right.
costs and maintenance costs and all that involved, which can run pretty hugely, as we can see if we were paying for this track system the whole time and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah, and if I kind of broke it down too, usually we put between $300 and $400, probably closer to $400 a year. So I just figured it out at $7,500 and 375 hours a year is $20 an hour. That is dirt cheap. You can't begin to go rent one or
Right.
do anything like that.
And
for
don't
$20
expect to
an
put
hour.
any other costs in but that 20 hours.
Well, other than fuel
$20.
and
Right.
grease and
Right,
what you're
I
gonna
mean,
do with
no
any machine.
maintenance,
But as far as breakdowns, it's
parts.
100% covered. We take it to Bobcat and they take care of it. And if we have it for an extended period of time, they'll give us another machine to use for the interim.
Bob, at one time, this is a couple years ago when we were first looking at doing the whole buying that skid loader deal. And I don't know if this is the same thing, but they said something about the oil changes they would cover if it's under warranty or if it's under free. Or did they say anything about that as far as?
He did not say anything.
Okay.
In fact, I thought he said basically all you're gonna pay for is two oil changes, one at 50 hours and then probably one at that 250
the
hours.
break-in and the other one, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Is the comment he made. I can quiz him.
We'll check
about
into it because the one guy said it a few years ago, and he made some comment about maintenance. And I said something about oil changes, and he said I think that's covered too, or something. I
Right.
more or less just curious if.
Yeah. He didn't say anything, and like I said, in fact, I think that's one of the things we will have to cover, but.
Yeah, which is
isn't
minimal.
the end of
and
the world.
You
It's
have to do it anyway, so.
similar with every other machine too. Yeah.
Mhm.
I personally think it's the way to go. That machine is so versatile, we use it a lot. To me, anybody that's got a farm.
Which number is this one?
What's
Model
that?
number?
T770.
Okay, good.
Yeah. We looked at the 870. I think it's just
Too big.
probably too big and might not even fit on our trailer. 770 is very comparable to what we have. And,
Well, and the 870 is like a mini bulldozer.
right. I think it'll be a good move to go this direction.
I'll make a motion to approve the equipment purchases.
Was that everything?
There's
Well,
some
that's a
minor
question.
equipment on the second page.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Do you want to do?
Want to do the
Just
minor
do.
equipment?
You want to just do this, and then we'll go to the minor stuff.
Oh, that's what I thought you wanted to stop and do this, but
Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, this is all the major equipment stuff, so if you want to do this motion, I
wanna
can go back with the next two items.
I wonder if we should move on each one individually instead of as a group.
Well, unless you have an issue with, I mean, if you've got an issue with one that you want to single out, then yeah, we should.
Well, I would just as soon.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Yeah,
it.
okay.
What's the first piece to move on?
So the first piece then would be
The
this,
plow truck?
The sprayer,
The
sprayer
sprayer.
unit.
well, either way.
I make a motion to approve the purchase of the sprayer.
Second.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. What's the next one that would be on your list?
You can do the plow truck.
Should we do the plow truck and
The- the- yep, The plow truck and the box are
Yeah.
two separate contracts.
Oh, they
But
are?
then you do them both. Yeah, the plow truck chassis is from Nest Truck, and then the plow truck box is from Towmaster. So it's actually two different vendors. If you want them broken out,
You could probably do it as one.
The plow truck.
make a motion, so approved.
Second it.
Is there any further discussion on the plow truck and box purchase? Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, approved. Okay, what's next?
Mechanic truck and box. Again, these are two different vendors, both state bid prices.
Make a motion to approve the plow, mechanic's truck and box.
I'll second it.
And what are we gonna do with the old one?
Sell it.
Sell it? Anything that comes from that would offset some of this cost, I would assume, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll probably put it on to mid-bid, would be my guess for the old ones.
And that'll go the same for the survey truck and the other inspector's truck. They both go on the mid-bid.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried?
Okay, and then the compact track loader.
I've got one more quick comment on the skid loader too. As far as to purchase the warranty or to do the buyback program, we've got the full 12 months to make that decision. So right now, it's only going to cost us the $18,233, and then so next year's budget will either be the extended warranty if we so choose, or the
trade it
buyback,
in kind of
or
thing.
the trade back, the buyback,
Or neither.
or neither, whatever you guys chose to do. Yeah, but
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Well, I'll discuss just a little bit. I would really like, let's see, our next meeting, theoretically anyway, is in 2 weeks. I'd like to be able to have a little bit more time to talk with you guys and do a little bit more discussing before I make a decision on that track loader. I'm not comfortable yet with it.
Do you want to table that one for the following week?
I would like to see it tabled till the next meeting. From my standpoint, I'm not comfortable with voting on it yet. There's too much that I don't know yet about the various programs. So
Does that affect you guys much at all?
No, we can delay. My recommendation, if the board does choose to do that, is to come back whenever the next day meeting is, whether that's in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. That way I can have, both my employees here with me that day.
And I would assume on a track skid, you're not going to be using that all that much in the wintertime anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we'll try to get it out,
If the
what we
temperature's warm
currently
enough,
have, if
you know.
it's warm enough, but otherwise, since we
Kind of
start
like
getting a lot of
pig on
snow,
ice with tracks.
once we start getting a lot of snow, you need to park it for the winter, so yeah, it's not
it's not going to create any inconvenience for you operationally to wait 2 weeks on it then?
no, we still have the current one that we can use, so.
Yeah, okay.
We had,
We've got a motion and a
We have
second.
a motion and a
before.
second.
Want to vote on it, or are you comfortable withdrawing a motion, or you want to vote on it?
I'm comfortable with withdrawing if it doesn't affect anything, and Fred feels he needs to check things further. I think that's is right, and if he wants to.
Sure.
okay.
Next item then would be the survey truck and box. Again, this is two separate contracts. The survey truck from Ranger Chevrolet is a state bid item. Michael's truck equipment for the box is a non-state aid item, but it meets the threshold to get out there for quotes. So.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried.
Next item then will be our survey truck. This is going to be replaced with 2003 survey truck that we will put on. We'll sell the existing truck once we get the new truck here.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Can you?
Are we in a rut? Discussion.
Well, then we can have discussion.
When you guys sell these, is there a way to keep track of what we sold them for and just let us know? Just
Sure.
more for curiosity,
Yep,
what
most
we have
definitely.
coming in.
Yeah, we've been going through this min bid auction site.
And that's been working pretty good.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good, yeah.
That's
No
good.
surprise.
Oh, and then last question on that min bid though, does that allow outside public entities to purchase, or is it only intergovernmental?
No, anybody can purchase. You or
Okay.
I can go get a,
Because I know I had some construction guys in the area that have made comments that they said, when the county wants to get rid of equipment, we'd like to know,
yep.
and have a shot at it. And I said, well, it has to go up for public auctions.
Yep,
I was
and
assuming it did, but
anybody can register to buy, any person.
cool.
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments?
Are we
Okay.
talking about the $28,000 vehicle right now?
Yes.
That's the motion on the table, yes.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so we have two other pieces of equipment. These are both classified as minor equipment, although the one does have a fairly.
Brian, could you pull that mic a little closer?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have two more pieces of equipment. These are both in our minor equipment line item, even though one of them is a more expensive item. The first item is 4 storage unit containers, 20-foot long. Storage units. These are essentially like the boxcars that get shipped on the rail lines.
Container ship containers? type
Yep,
deal?
yep, shipping
One
containers.
trippers.
Yep.
Yep. So these have taken one trip across, reached their destination, and now they're available to be sold. Currently, we have some stuff stored outside in some old semi-trailers. Getting in and out of those trailers, you need to climb up to get in. The doors on those trailers are in bad shape, where they don't close tight. You have mice getting in by, or materials in there. We've looked at repairing those trailers, putting in new doors on, looking at what the value of those trailers are. Is that cost effective, or is it better to get a trailer that's sitting right, or a box that's sitting right on the ground, easier access getting in and out? When you start putting tires up in these trailers that are elevated up, it's just easier to be on the ground. So looking at the price, getting 4 of these 20-foot long containers ends up being $15,400. We've gotten quotes in the past on different types of doors that would amount to, I want to think we've a few $1,000s for those doors, and the values of those semis just aren't worth putting any money into them. So we would like to go this route. Any discussion, or I guess Pat can has more insight. We looked at 20-foot. We looked at the 40-foot. The 20-foot trailers, we'd have more doors, easier access to get into them. You're not walking 35, 40 feet into a dark trailer, depending on what the conditions are like out there. It's just easier to store materials in it. So
That we can handle them with our loader too. We can move them around if they need to.
So, a couple quick questions. I'm a big fan of containers, just because of cheap storage.
Mm-hmm.
Are these aren't the containers are they the ones that are modified to have like the big overhead doors put in on the sides and stuff?
On the side of them?
Yeah.
No, these are just your one-trip rear door, double doors.
Because I know there's a company, at least they've got them over by West Salem, that have they've taken the containers and put in side doors so you can come in from the end or from the sides or whatever. I was just curious if that's.
No, exactly.
And then is this a lot of things that are stored outside now, or are they stuff that's already inside?
They're already in those semi-trailers currently that we're using, but like Brian was saying, the doors are in such bad shape you can't even shut them in the rodents and the weather.
You got to go up 4 feet to get in.
yeah, they're currently inside. So tires, erosion control blanket.
Right.
What are all in there right now? I know we have the erosion control blanket. We have tires.
Yep, our chains for our bottom of our trucks and various truck parts for the.
And then the trailers, empty those out and get rid of them.
We're gonna sell them.
Yeah.
Now, where do you get rid of those?
I'm gonna look into min bid and see if I can do it on there as well. And it's up to whoever buys it. It's at their responsibility to come and pick them up.
Come and get them.
That's kind of the direction I'm leaning on going. I did talk to a couple of local auctioneers, and they said they would have no troubles getting rid of them. So if min bid thought it wasn't the right place there, we could go to some of the locals, I guess, if we chose to.
Okay.
But that's our intent, get rid of them. I don't think they're gonna be worth a lot, but we gotta get them out of there.
Well, I think the containers will look better than rotted trailers, in my personal opinion.
Very much so. And I like the ground level. We might elevate the one with tires just so we can roll them in and out of trucks, but.
The other question I've got, we've got a lot of other things outside. Is there ways looking at potentially getting other containers to put things that are outside, just to kind of clean up? Or is there not really, on the rest of the stuff, practical or not? I guess I don't know.
It's bigger stuff, so I think it'd be harder to get.
Sure.
You might have to take a lot of things out to get to something in the back, so I don't know how practical it would be.
Sure.
And then I would say no, not at this point,
Sure.
Especially depending on moving forward with building and situations and that. Then we'll be in the next step,
Right.
We have been doing a lot of cleanup stuff here, especially this fall in the last month or two. So we're trying to clean up the site.
Whittle down on things that we haven't used for a long time, if that's the case.
Did we have a?
I'll move to approve the purchase of the containers.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. One more item. So this is.
You're promising now.
Yes, then I will get out of here. I know this is usually a long enough board meeting as it is, so I don't want to take up any more of your time. So, final item here then would be Trimble R10 GPS unit. Our current unit is 10 or 11 years old. It has some, not really having any major issues with it at this time, but it is getting up there in age. We do have some minor stuff that's been showing up with it. The new R10 Trimble has some additional features and improvements over the current unit. 10 years ago, GPS technology was nowhere near where it's at now. So we are recommending to purchase a new Trimble R10 unit, and then the existing unit, we'd get about $3,600 on a trade for it. It's not worth trading it in that way. So at this point, we'd want to keep it and determine if we're going to end up wanting to sell it potentially on min bid, or if we want to keep it as a backup spare. So when we do have breakdowns, we have that backup. So what we've done in the past is we try to share the county surveyor's equipment as needed to with breakdowns. We just don't know exactly how we're going to want to proceed with this next unit. So,
Okay, so now I got another quick question. I thought we approved a purchase for a total station a while ago, correct?
purchased a total station, yes.
So, with the Trimble, what's the surveyor stuff is more geared towards like surveying the land, and the total station's more for getting things level and graded, right? Or what's the big?
We use them both depending on the terrain, the location. What's the GPS is our go-to equipment when we can use it, but that does not work good in wooded areas when you're up against bluffs, when you can't get the view of the sky, when you don't have the view of the satellites in the sky. Then you need to use the total station. There's some times when it's easier to set the total station on the local control points. Sometimes GPS, it varies on the situation. So,
And then Dick had equipment that we were using, right? But that was his, correct? Okay.
Yep. So I believe Dick had both a GPS and a total station. So when he left, both of them were gone. So now we're kind of trying to get some of the county side along with replace our older stuff. So.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
I didn't get what cost we're talking about.
$59,388.30.
Not cheap stuff.
GPS isn't cheap.
But it replaces a lot of individuals.
It does.
Yes. The advantage of GPS, you can be out there by yourself and get a lot of stuff done.
I think we should go back to the old chain way of doing it.
Pull the pole.
Yeah. I had a 4-man survey crew back in the day. Now they do it with one person.
Right.
And that actually,
And we're gonna sell our old, is that right?
yeah, and like I said, the old one, whether we sell it immediately or keep it as a backup for a little bit, we'll see. But
Do we have, and I guess I don't know directly, you guys probably know this answer. You guys will have your own surveying equipment. So then our surveyor's office here has their own as well, or is it shared?
yeah, no, they have a Trimble R8 unit, just like what we currently have at the highway department, and then they also have a total station that, when we purchased the total station previously, the old one. Did the old one go to the surveyor's office, or how? I believe the old one went to the
Yeah,
surveyor's
that
office.
sounds right.
Our old total station, yeah.
Yep. I think that's right. Okay.
Okay. I lost track. We got a motion.
And a second.
We got a motion and a second. Okay. Sometimes we discuss before and sometimes after, and I lost that one. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Motion carried.
That'd be it. So thank you.
Well, I have a question while I have you here. Whole month of December, virtually no snow. Are we saving money?
Yes.
And what are we doing with, what do we have, 3 techs, and what are they doing?
Yep, so
Out of curiosity.
we were out, up until when the weather got, well, I guess I can let Pat talk more, but we were doing a lot of site cleanup around the yards. We were hauling sand, getting stuff prepared for the entire duration of the winter, stuff that we didn't have. We were prepared enough to start winter, but we didn't have all of our stuff fully moved over ready for the plow season. We've also been doing some brush clearing prior to the weather getting really cold. When it got really cold, we just didn't feel it was worth to put the guys out there when it's -0 or negative degrees. Just some safety issues out there, and it's harder on equipment. And then you have the cleanup of equipment and cleaning up within the shops themselves. So other stuff, I guess I can let Pat.
We consistently stay busy. Up until last week, we were out doing road ditches, and we actually had our chipper out there in the skid loader with the brush hog, and we were cleaning up as much as we can. And that's what we're going to continue to do if we don't get a lot of snow.
Okay.
We also
We
set
have been out with some of these smaller events, but it hasn't. Yeah, for the most part, we're saving money. Yes.
We
As
also
far
set
as
up
overtime, which is good.
Does that,
anti-AC.
as far as I know, like, cleaning up the ditches or any brush and debris, which is a good time to do it without the understory,
Yeah.
are we, I'm going to say, getting ahead, quote, doing that when we don't have snow to plow and stuff, that we can keep doing stuff like that? I mean, if weather still stayed, in the teens and 20s with no snow.
Then we would start getting ahead. I wouldn't say we're getting ahead yet. We're starting to get.
I would say getting more
moving on it.
caught up.
Yeah, there you go. That's a better way to look at it. But that's my goal. I mean, when we have downtime, to just stay at it.
And then what do we do? The salt, like we've pre-bought salt, right?
Yep.
So for say, fingers crossed, we go all winter and we don't have to use any. In theory, is that carried over till the next year, but we don't have to pick up delivery of it, or do we have to store it?
We need
80%.
We need to purchase 80% of it. So the remaining 20% we don't need to get if we go, have a really busy winter year, a lot of snow and stuff. Then we can actually go another 20% or 25% over. If we do not pick it up, then there's a charge per month.
Like a storage fee, kind of, for
yeah,
them
like
to
a storage
hold it?
fee. What we've done in the past is we try to make sure we get that 80%, and we'll put in the back of one of our storage sheds, put some bunch of sand in front of it, get it buried in there, and then the following fall we'll pull it back out and mix the piles as we need them. So, so generally, we're gonna take at least 80%, and then what it could do is next when the next contract comes up, we'll look in April and decide, do we want to reduce what we need to purchase for salt the following year. So a lot of winter left. We can very well go over. But yeah, I mean, overall, it's been good. A lot less overtime, not calling in guys on weekends, not keeping them late. When they've been coming in early, we've been trying to get them out of there at, coming in at 4 o'clock and them out of there at noon, so we're not paying for overtime. It's been good so far.
Yeah.
I want to hear. Good.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
And as for the skid loader, Fred, if you've got some time, I'd love to sit down and discuss it. I can go
Yeah.
through. I've got
Yeah.
some spreadsheets and things we can go through as far as what the numbers are and what we've looked at. So
I'll make time.
that sounds perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think we said aye. Oh, yes, we did.
We voted, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, that was after the vote.
That was-
Yeah,
yeah.
conversation. Yeah, okay. The next item I have on the agenda is printing bids for 2018. We need to wait until 10 o'clock, which gives us 2 minutes.
To use the restroom.
Okay.
Yeah. I was gonna ask, yeah.
Basically, we're recessed till 10 o'clock.
You have a good Christmas?
Yeah.
Good.
And you?
Yeah. Didn't do a whole heck of a lot.
Chair.
What's that?
You would have been a good chair.
Oh, I appreciate
You're
Teresa.
good at running a meeting.
No, time-wise, I just don't know if I can do what needs to be done. That's my whole thing. I like running meetings, but
Yeah, it's mainly running meetings, basically.
But I just get calls or can you stop in for a meeting or whatever. I'm just getting swamped at work right now. It's just
Well,
ridiculous.
that's a good thing for you.
Yeah, I don't know. I got one kid that races with us at lacrosse, and
his dad bought a new car from him. So him and his dad were over yesterday, and we were welding on it. He's a professional welder for trade companies.
Okay.
So I talked to him about coming over and helping me do some welding, because I need to do the book work.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I can't do the welding and the book work, and then this afternoon I got to go to West Salem and finish putting this other car for another kid in Florida, putting his stuff together. So I'm running around a lot. So it's like, so I might see if I can hire him for the weekends or something to get ahead, you know. But otherwise, it's just rush.
Do you have other employees under you?
No.
No, just you mainly.
Hey, my dad was going to come over and kind of be the office manager.
Yeah.
But then Jeannie Poppy, our representative, state rep, she had called my dad, and they basically offered my dad a job that he just couldn't turn down at the tech college over at Berkeley in Austin.
Oh, okay.
So he's like, I might take this job for a year or two, get all of our bills paid off. And so what I was hoping for him to be my office manager fell through for a year or two. So, but we'll see. But yeah.
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 Except you keep some meetings going.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Okay, so we gotta pursue that. Okay, now we got 10.
Oh my, we're a minute overdue to come out of recess here. Okay, we're back, we're convened again.
You have one bid?
That kind of narrows the decision.
Makes the decision relatively easy.
One bid, huh?
Once again, for 2018, the Springdorf Herald and Caledonia Argus are submitting a joint bid to publish Houston County legals. This allows as many bidders as possible to receive the information. There are no increases or changes to last year's bid, which is reflected in the paperwork enclosed, which is $6 per column inch for everything.
Say that again, $6?
$6 per column inch.
Okay.
Same as last year.
Well, A, it narrows it down, but B, I'm pleased that it's the same as last year.
Yes.
You know, that's very nice. Like to work with them, so I'll move to approve the printing bid to the Springfield Herald and the Caledonia Argus.
Second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Whoops. Wrong side of the piece of paper. There we go. Okay. Action items. Approved claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
Make a motion, approve claims?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Establish minimum salaries for offices to be elected in 2018. And you've got that before you. Shar, do we need to read those, or do we?
Nope, I just gave you that for
Yeah,
information.
yeah,
That's for
blanket approval.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And we should probably explain too.
Yeah, you
'cause-
better explain this.
So, for anybody watching or watching at home or in the audience, so we have to establish a minimum salary because with an elected office, say a commissioner decides we're not going to show up for the whole year. Technically, by law, they don't have to, but we can reduce their salary accordingly. So it's one of those where we put a floor in it that if an elected official isn't doing their job and not around, we're not paying them a huge salary. So somebody can't just get elected and then just never show up and get $100,000 a year or whatever it is. So we have to put in basically a floor, a minimum, what they would get paid that we can reduce their salary accordingly. So That's why it's set at $5,000 each. So if people are wondering why, that's why.
And it is a state statute that we set that every year.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minimum salary as specified by the state statute.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. Adopt Resolution 18-01 to use alternative method to disseminate bids and requests.
This is another routine thing that we do every January, and I think mainly the highway department uses this to bid jobs instead of putting it in the papers. So I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution 1801.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Resolution 1802, approving association membership and meeting attendance.
Another routine one for January. I'll make a motion to approve 1802 for participation in associate membership and meeting attendance.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Adopt list of appropriations for 2018. And this is the list of things to which we give money for one reason or another, such as Southeast Minnesota Initiative Fund, Selco, Historical Society, Agri Society.
SimCAG.
Yeah, if somebody wants to read the whole list, go ahead.
It's basically the ones we discussed at budget time, and we really didn't increase anything except for the fair, and that there's a note to that effect on here. So
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to set the 2018 appropriations as set.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approve timeline and ad for filling Board of Adjustment vacancies.
This is our public notice for advertising for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to approve the timeline and ad for filling the Board of Adjustment vacancies.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Approve 2018 board meeting schedule. And Shar has included a couple of options that should serve as examples, and we'll discuss it a little bit. What do we think?
Sure,
The first thing to talk about is, are we happy with the evening meeting? That's the first thing we need to talk about, I think. Is it working satisfactorily? Do we need to make a change now I'm talking about the actual fact of evening meeting. I'm not talking about what week at this point. I'm just talking about the fact of.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, I guess, I think I probably brought this up initially, and I guess I haven't seen a big influx of people at the evening meeting, but then there's been as many there as there are this morning here. Mm-hmm. And what it does, in my mind, is still, depending on the issue, I mean, I've always related back to when I was mayor in La Crescent. Very few people would come, but then proposed curb and gutter, and the place is full. So again, I think if we have an issue that's a hot button issue, I'd still like to see the opportunity for people who are employed out of the area, La Crosse, or have an opportunity to come to the evening meeting. So I'd like to at least extend it another year, and so.
Would the board consider moving it to 4:30 instead of 5:30? And when, at least if we have department heads that have to be here, like Brian or somebody, they could come right from work.
My only issue is at 4:30, like I think of, like my wife doesn't even get done work until 5:15. By the time you get here, you know, she wanted to, or I think of, you know, like my parents, my mom's retired, my dad's not, that we wouldn't get here until 6, you know.
Well, we do have the option of public comment at the beginning or at the end of the meeting. That changing it to 4:30 would make that possibly a little dicey if we have a really quick meeting.
Well, my only other thing is if there's a, if there's a, you know, an agenda item that somebody wants to try and get to, you know, not necessarily just speaking, because, you know, okay, so we have a 2-hour meeting, and you say, well, you can still make the public comment. Yeah, but I wanted to be here for the second item on the agenda. You know, that would be the only issue, is it's getting kind of early.
Yeah, they want to speak to it before it's done.
Yeah.
I understand.
We compromise at 5 o'clock, get off. Would anybody think about that? You know, and we don't see a lot. I would think if it's a real hot button issue, you know, there's not a lot of people come, so if they did have to take a half an hour or an hour off of work, at least it wouldn't be a crazy amount to expect for people. It'd be different if they were showing up now and we said, oh, we're putting people in, you know, they show up every week and they can't make it, or they're taking time off every week to make a meeting. But if it makes it a lot easier for our department heads, we could try that for a year, if we thought that was more of a reasonable time frame for everybody.
I would like it earlier. I would compromise with 5.
Okay. Now, do we want that? We still want an evening meeting, and then we're pretty well agreed at 5.
No, I don't know. That was just a comment.
I think.
don't know if we were agreed or not.
I'm not sure.
Right.
I don't think we're ready for a motion yet. I think we need to
Yeah,
incorporate that time
I agree that I would
the
like
final
to keep
motion.
an evening meeting. From the people I've talked to, they said I haven't made them, but when something comes up that I want to make, I appreciate the chance
Yeah.
too.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Do we want to go, so option 1 is to leave it where it is, where we have no meeting and followed by an evening meeting, or evening meeting, regular morning meeting, and then an evening meeting, kind of every other one.
Option 2, I think, just move the evening meeting to the last week, 4th week instead. We'd still stay with the 3 meetings a month.
And
And the second meeting, the second week, no meeting.
okay. And
So
that
that part
suggestion
would
came
change.
about for a reason, didn't it? Was there some
Yeah.
comments or something?
What, the 3 or?
That to go to the fourth one being evening meeting?
I don't know. Where that-
It said because
The-
the department head discussion was,
Yeah, there was some discussion at the department heads meeting just last week about that, and their consensus was it would be better, that week gap in there, it would be better from their standpoint, just a convenience standpoint, to have the meeting at the end of the gap be a regular 9 o'clock meeting. Now, the fly in the ointment, of course, on the 4th Tuesday would be the aforementioned department heads meeting, of course, and then that public health meeting in Mabel, which is 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
and then come back for a 5 o'clock meeting or
And then
5:30.
be coming back for a 5 o'clock meeting. That creates a bit of a gap for the people that go to the Mabel meeting.
Well, could have we talked to public health about, instead of 1 o'clock, having that at like 2 or 3 o'clock? Like, you know, if we had it at 2 o'clock, usually it goes for an hour. Then you're done at 4, so then those commissioners could go. The department heads that come to it, their day's over. And then for us, you'd have an hour between there and the board meeting to get back here, which is a half an hour, and then half an hour to get ready to grab
And
food.
we ran into where
That's-
public health has
that's
pushed
where-
us anyhow
Sure.
sometimes, being at 1.
Say that again?
We've ran into where being at 1 o'clock, we've been really pushed for the public health.
Yeah.
So
When
you're
something comes
suggesting
up
2
here.
o'clock?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering if it would be possible. I mean, we got to talk to Fillmore County. But,
Right.
But you know, if our board meetings run late, then it's kind of like we're up against a wall to get
Right.
there, and then you don't have time to even stop and grab something to eat.
Nothing
And,
for lunch.
Well,
you know, and it's kind of
Yeah,
So
it might actually be better.
yeah.
Yeah.
It might be. to have
we
a
haven't
little
voted
break.
on the time of the evening meeting either, right? Do we have a consensus, or what do we?
Well, first, I think
No,
we have, do we
I
have
thought
a
we could run it
consensus
all
that we
into one
keep it in the
motion
evening
into
meeting?
one.
and get it over with, yeah.
Pardon?
I would say we have a consensus to keep the evening meeting.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, we've got a pretty clear consensus on keeping the evening meeting, and I think we got a pretty clear consensus on 5 o'clock.
Okay, you mind if I ask a couple ladies that are here frequently?
Yeah.
5 o'clock,
Well,
Bets and,
I agree with Justin that, excuse me, it doesn't give a person who works time to get to the meeting before it starts. So I think that's kind of important. And also, from the standpoint of someone who might wish to run as a commissioner, they would always have to be taking off extra time in order to get to the meeting, where if it was at 5:30, chances are it wouldn't interfere with their regular job. So that was my only comments.
Betsy, you have any thought?
No, I basically agree. I mean, if you're coming from a full-time job someplace, most of us wouldn't be able to make it in at 5 o'clock. 5:30 is a better time,
Okay.
even if people don't show up.
And we have a couple of department heads here, 3 actually, I'm sorry. Any difference?
5 to 5:30 is, there's no difference for me on that. It's more convenient for the public. I would be very supportive of that. The only comment that I had was regarding sequencing the meetings, was that the gap meeting or the non-week meeting be later in the month. Doesn't matter to me where the night meeting is. It's just that because of trying to get business to the board earlier in the month, because decisions need to be made, that puts our work out later. It's nice to be able to have that gap meeting later in the month rather than, so that we can get things to the board quicker. That was my only comment at the meeting, so that was why I was thinking about flipping that off a week later into the month. But, whatever, I mean, we work around it. It's just, so for instance, hiring decisions and things, it just pushes everything down a week. And so if we can push that up a week.
Okay, we'd be talking then morning, no meeting, evening?
Mhm.
At this point, that's where we
Yes.
would be.
Okay. Which, by the way, I looked this morning on the computer. I think the website still says 4 Tuesday morning meetings. Anyone else see that?
I have seen that.
I haven't looked at it.
I don't know. A while ago, I looked at it and said that.
Yeah.
This schedule is posted, so it should be out there.
Yeah.
Maybe there's another spot
I
that
think
has
when
it.
you first go on the website and you're reading about it
Yeah.
under commissioners,
Okay.
it'll say
Under
meet
I will check.
4
Yeah, that's
times
where
a
it
month.
says
There,
it, Sharon, under that.
I will check.
Yep.
4
Thank
times
you.
a month on Tuesdays or something.
Right, yeah.
Technology strikes again.
Carol, did you have a?
Well, I think it came up at the department head meeting, and it was Brian who actually indicated that he did not like to bring, like when he was discussing his equipment and bringing the loader thing back, he wasn't gonna do it at the night meeting, he was gonna wait until the next morning meeting, which, I think kind of
True.
You know what I
Because
mean?
you're skirting having.
It's like the agenda is maybe, changed up and things are pushed back and not done at a night meeting when that is actually the purpose of having a night meeting.
Well, I don't know that it's for them to hear it so much as if they have to want to comment and stuff. I don't think, they're really, when Brian brings this up in front of us, I don't know that we're asking for public comment on it.
I think we're used to the schedule we have, we should leave it.
Well, I think too, if we had a big discussion, big issue, we could purposely try and schedule it for the night meeting if we wanted to hear more public. If it was a real controversial thing, we could say, let's.
Say we get something going with the building of a new
Yeah, like a highway building.
building, and we want input.
In part, I think part of that is because his team, if he brings a member of the team, they are hourly wage, and they have fairly prescribed schedules. That doesn't mean he can't alter their schedules.
Right.
But, there are.
But I do see what Carol's saying though, is you kind of purposely schedule it a certain way to try and avoid.
Right. The night schedule agenda is typically as short as it can be if something can wait.
Yeah, which I think, sometimes we don't have that much,
The other option, of course, if we have something that's really a hot button issue where we know that there's going to be a lot of people interested in talking to us about it or whatever, we can schedule a special meeting, and we do have that empty week where we could just simply put a special meeting at whatever time we want, 7 o'clock, 7:30, and okay, let's have a listening session and hear this. So.
It just seems like the fourth Tuesday is better to have in the morning because of the joint board and because of the department head meeting rather than.
Yeah.
And people are used to it.
Yeah, they are used to what we've been doing the past year, so why change it,
The more you
really?
switch it up, the more confusing it gets.
I guess I would be fine leaving it alone. I still would maybe like to look at, as far as that joint board of health meeting, even at it.
Right.
Maybe push it, even if it was 1:30, that would help versus 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Just anyway.
But we need a motion to talk about our situation now. So do we have a motion?
I'd move to leave the schedule as is.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? We've had quite a bit, and that's good, because there were several things we did need to air out on it. But hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a vote on it. Those in favor? Aye. And those opposed? Motion carried. The meeting schedule stays as it is. Okay, 2018 committees.
Quickly, before we get too far into this and the potential advent of saving time, I know we go through like our committee schedule one at a time and change it up. I'm just wondering, is that something where we should first see if we want to change it up versus going through it to find out that we're all staying on most of the committees same anyway? Like,
Right.
I would like to do some changing up
That's what I
personally.
wondered, if people do. Originally, I thought that too. Might just be quicker to say, does anybody want to change anything?
Right.
And maybe that's what we should do. What would you go through and what would you like to be changed on?
Yep.
I was thinking committee meetings, I've been on human service for the last 7 years, and I was thinking of switching to land use instead. Committee, I mean, they're the same morning, but.
Right.
I would say I'd like to stay on land use. I've only done it for a year.
Well, and I can switch with Teresa because I'm on there, so I can switch with you.
That would work good.
Because I don't know if I've ever, in 7 years, done human services or,
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. I'm just switch that up.
Anything anybody else would like to be not on or
I will-
get on or?
My only thing is I would not mind handing over the reins on planning commission to somebody else. There is one,
No, thank you.
there's one issue coming up right now that, I know Fred and I have talked that you kind of know a little bit about with the Winnebago mine that's coming up, that, there is some discussion, there is a vote, we have 60 days. So,
You're kind of in the middle of something.
I'm in the middle of it, but I guess, you know, like I said, I don't know if Fred wants to go on there. You're familiar with it. If you wanted to take over on that, if you don't, I can stay on it, or Scott or anybody.
Well, I would say,
Scott's been the alternate there.
right, but if you would rather, you got 7 townships, and you seem to have more, I mean, you farmed, I don't have as much knowledge in the area, I wouldn't say, but I would be willing to do it.
Well, otherwise,
Unless you
couldn't we
want.
change it after this issue? Could you
It doesn't matter.
stay on it until this
It's
is
not a, and
resolved?
it's not a huge issue. I mean, it's a big, I should say, it's a big issue, but it's not an issue that, like, Fred's not already aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I think everybody's kind of aware of what's going on.
Yeah.
And I could stay on it until after this and change it, or change it now. It doesn't matter to me, but for
What-
sure after that.
What's your choice?
It does
Well,
make sense for
My
Fred.
only thing with it is that I do have a regularly scheduled meeting
Oh,
outside of county business for Thursday night.
Oh, okay. Well, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
So
Or-
I could, potentially, I could change that, but I don't know. There's 4 other people that I have to talk to about that.
would you do it if I was your alternate?
Well,
And I would show up. I also have golf Thursday nights, but I could.
theoretically, I do that too, but I'm not as good a golfer as Scott, so they put me much
You're just
earlier
a
in the
morning
day.
golfer. I like
Yeah.
my evenings.
You'll probably both skip golf this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Well,
could we-
I am heading for California, so I can't commit to that.
Could we simply postpone the
Sure.
planning commission decision for 2 weeks?
Sure.
And I'll see what I can do
Yeah.
with my group,
your
and you
schedule?
can think about it. And
Great.
yeah, okay.
Sounds
Just
good.
leave that one out of it. Okay.
I also have been on finance committee since we started finance. Does anybody else prefer to go to that committee?
I wouldn't mind finance, but I'd have to give something up. I mean, if we're horse trading.
We're getting to the point where it may be more feasible to just go through the whole list here if we're not a little careful.
Except finance is the same day as land use, right?
Oh, no.
No, finance is the last week.
Wait.
It's all by itself, right?
Oh, that's right. Well,
Scott, don't you still work with, or have Public Works the last week?
yeah.
Oh, yep, I do. Yep.
I thought finance was all by itself.
Well, Public Works meets anyway, because they have so many things to coordinate. I've been told, I don't work with.
Yeah, you do.
I do, try to, yep.
Otherwise, I can do finance if you can't, Scott, or if you want to Public Works, no matter.
But if finance, I don't know, I've never done it, so is it just the meeting once in the morning before the council meeting?
Yeah.
You know,
That
I
half
think
hour.
I could pull that off then,
And then somebody else would have to go to Public Works.
right. Or, I'm making Public Works maybe half the time the way it is. I think I see them once a month and they pretty much call me if they have anything. I think it's working out
Just leave it like that.
to do both.
And we do have 2 people from the board on finance, so
Right.
if
I
one
wanted-
can't make it, the other is there,
Right.
and so
See,
that,
It didn't change
Yeah.
over to 2018. We actually
I
went 2 months
I
at a
would
time.
I would like to see that finance thing rotate a little bit.
Yeah, and I think I
Anyway.
need it, Yeah, you need to get into other things too.
Yeah,
Need
and
to learn more.
I've learned, this is obviously my first year on that finance committee, and I've learned a lot in that year. And I still got a whole lot to learn. Any finance committee member will tell you I have a lot to
So
learn.
Fred and Scott are committee on finance now?
Yep.
Another one I've been on for a long time is extension. If anybody else wants to try extension,
Yeah, I would do extension if I can give up, say,
but that's a Thursday too.
You are keeping track of this. Good for you.
SimCAG or,
Extension meets every other month, the odd months, and Thursday evenings at 7. Fred and I have been on it,
Fred, I'm
but I've been on it
awful.
for a long time. I mean, I'll keep it if nobody
yeah.
else wants
I'd
to.
really rather not
Okay.
commit to another Thursday.
I do it, but for right now, I work late on Thursday nights until midnight, so I don't.
I'll keep it then. I
Yeah.
just thought if somebody else wanted
I've
to
been
try.
off the farm way too long.
Well, I do have 3 townships also, so it's been a good thing for me. Another one that I've been on for a long time is solid waste. They meet quarterly at 9 in the morning, 9 to noon in La Crosse. If anybody wants to try
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't mind. I was on that some years ago.
It's a joint.
Yeah, I would.
Okay,
I-
what page are we on now? Where is that?
I didn't know we had pages. Oh, in
Yeah, we
the,
got this.
yep.
The one who keeps track of us needs to keep track of
Yeah.
us.
Okay,
This sheet
Teresa,
seems
you're,
a lot easier.
you're on a
That's it.
3-year term there that expires.
Oh, am I? Okay, then I-
2020.
Okay, then I'll keep it then for till next year.
I know they kind of frown on messing with their terms.
In the middle.
Yeah. Well, I've been told that before.
Okay,
Okay,
fine.
I will keep that then.
That means she's gonna have to be reelected.
Well, yeah.
Is there any way you guys can just quickly run through this
Yeah.
for the sake of the people who come? It's because the way you're talking about it now is totally confusing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Char's
Maybe we
should-
keeping track of it.
Yep.
I like the sheet that Scott's got, kind of lays it all out there.
Oh, I just got the one that Shar sent us. So if we start right at the beginning, that's Human Service Standing Committee will now be Jack and Justin, right?
Yeah.
First page.
Justin and Teresa. Oh, wait.
No, Teresa's giving that up.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. The next one is Land Use and Public Works. Right now it's Justin and Scott, and it'll be Scott and Teresa.
Yep.
Next one is Finance, will now be Fred and Scott. The ABC board, we don't do that. ADA,
Which she's running through what we got here.
I'm on page 3 right now.
Yep. ADA, same.
They don't really meet, do they?
ADA.
No. I mean, we have to have 2 people assigned to it, but we
Right.
don't.
I think we're good with staying on that, aren't we?
Mhm.
Justin,
Okay.
I never have to do much there. AMC is Justin for Environmental Natural Resources. And I'm on AMC Transportation. We have, Jack is on AMC Human Services. And Fred is on AMC General Government. And Teresa's on AMC Public Safety. We okay staying the way we are, AMC wise?
Yeah,
We have an AMC Delegate Assembly that we're all on.
yeah.
Bear Creek Watershed. Fred, you okay staying there?
You want to stay?
You know, I haven't heard from those people all year.
No.
So you're doing really good.
Yeah, but some committees don't meet, but we have to have somebody assigned.
Yeah, we
to it.
gotta have somebody there. I know, I understand.
Yep. Bluff Country, Malte County. It's meetings at Simcac and Rushford. I'm on that. Anybody wants it, they're welcome to it.
When do they meet?
They meet quarterly, on Mondays, I believe it is, on, in Rushford.
I can do that because I'm right there.
Okay, that'd be great. I'll get you any more information
Yeah, and let
on
them know
that.
just to email me when
Right.
the next meeting is.
Yep.
That's the one you took over from Jack last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So
Um,
Justin's on
so,
the Bluff Country
yeah.
then. Board of Health, we're all on.
What about Board of Adjustment with Larry Hafner?
We don't have a board of, oh, you mean as far as,
Larry Hafner?
yeah.
His term expires, or did expire at year end.
And that would be
Yeah,
up to the planning commission to assign somebody else because he's the representative from the planning
Right.
commission.
So I'll check with them.
Yep.
Yes.
Good job. We're at,
Health, we're
we
all
got, child mortality is Jack.
I'm sorry, which one?
Child
Child
mortality rarely meets, only
I
as
don't
needed.
know.
I have never seen it meet in
If
the,
something happens with a child, then
If
they have to
some-
review why.
It's been
Yeah.
a long time, and hopefully it will be another
Yep,
long
hopefully it
Yes.
does. CJC Safety Committee, I don't mind staying on that, I've been on that, I'm on the CJC committee anyhow, so it's kind of the same.
Sure.
State delegates, really nothing there.
that one, that's a Shack one, and this year
Yep.
it is, Jack is a
Yeah.
Jack is a new person, and was Scott the second alternate?
Yeah.
Rather than Fillmore County, which was kind of
Yeah,
unusual,
so
but,
I'm really am an alternate there, aren't I?
yeah.
Okay. CJC, I don't mind staying on that if,
Kind of goes with your safety one.
yeah.
This one is just always the chairman. Close.
Oh, yeah, I didn't, I would assume committee for closing, courthouse in emergencies. And I'm assuming that goes with the chairman,
Yep.
so that'll go to Fred.
The EDA board is, right now it's,
Jack?
Jack and Fred, right?
Right.
That's
Yep.
correct.
Do you want to keep it up, or?
Yeah, I'd just soon stay on there.
Great.
We
And
need to reappoint Ashley Dress on that committee also.
And
Do we need to do a formal appointment on that?
Well, we can do it all in one motion
Yeah,
at the end.
okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
In
She's only been
extension,
there for
Teresa
less than a
said
year.
she's staying on
Yeah.
that with Fred.
Pardon me?
Extension, Teresa said she's staying on it, and Fred?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
And as far as Eric and Jody, who are up this year, they both agreed to serve again
Good.
at the last meeting, so they're fine.
Family,
Service Collaborative, that's one that meets with the school districts, the 4 school districts. I've been on it for a while, but Justin, you mentioned somebody contacted you about it, didn't you?
Well, that was a long time ago. I don't even remember. Now.
It's a 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon on a Thursday. I'll stay on it. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on right now, so.
Okay.
so it's really picking Thursdays. Oh,
Hiawatha Valley Mental Health is, right now it's Jack with Scott as the alternate. You want to stay on that,
Yeah,
Jack?
I'd like to stay on that. It's been kind of a important
Mhm.
juncture here with the new purchase.
Scott, you want to stay as an alternate on it?
Sure, as long as I don't get called, it's working great so far.
Okay.
And across solid waste,
And I'm on for a 3-year term, so I guess I'm staying.
negotiating
Unless I get voted out
personnel
next
committee.
year.
Yeah, I guess I'd say we should probably leave that alone since we're in the middle of
Yeah,
negotiating for a little bit here.
pretty hard to move it
Yeah.
right now. I would agree. One watershed,
I would be an alternate on that personnel or negotiating if you need an alternate, so that you don't,
Oh, yeah.
probably wouldn't hurt in case somebody can't make it, huh?
because you need 2 people there, right?
Yeah, I don't think there's a requirement to have 2,
Do we
but
need 2 people if one can't make it on the negotiating?
not a requirement. It shows presence, which is, and support, which is good, so I mean, but it's not required.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. If you want to be an alternate, somebody to call, we can put you down for somebody.
Okay.
Planning Commission.
And then Fred is the one watershed, and Justin's the alternate there. Want to keep it?
Sure.
Okay.
Planning Commission.
We'll
Parks Committee
revisit
is-
that.
Yep, we're gonna revisit that.
Parks Committee is now Jack and Scott.
Right.
You two want to?
I don't mind staying on Parks.
I'd stay on that.
And the Water Resources Board.
How about, are we gonna reappoint Larry Haffner and Ed Hamel on planning, or are we leaving the whole thing?
Say that again. For
On Planning Commission.
Larry Haffner and Ed Hamel expired at year end.
Hamel.
Do we wanna reappoint them now, or wait with
Larry
those
said he's
also?
willing to go with it again, I know for sure. I
Well,
saw him.
the
And
only-
Ed Hamel?
The only thing is that brings up the whole automatic reappointment life term thing, you know, I mean, that,
We really never finished with the Planning Commission, did we?
no, I don't believe we did.
No, how are we gonna handle that? And we went through the Board of Adjustments, but we didn't really final out the Planning Commission.
And I think that we'll just need to
I
revisit
think
that
we should
probably in
just leave it
November
like it
when
is
people
for
are
now.
up,
Right.
you know, so we can get a little bit.
Heads up beforehand, letting this go too far.
What do we do with these two in the meantime?
Well, I'd say we can advertise that position's open if anybody's interested, and if nobody is, then they get reappointed,
Okay.
you know. Keep it same as we do with the,
Right.
And we changed from Justin to Fred, with Scott as an alternate, right? On Planning Commission?
well, Fred wanted to look into
I
that.
would just
Oh,
as
you-
soon just
you-
delay
oh, we want to
that.
table that till next week.
Just table that one until 2 weeks from now.
The Planning Commission.
Yes.
Right. I think we should table everything with it so we can make up our mind how we're gonna handle this whole Planning Commission.
Yeah, we could table all of the planning
Right.
commission stuff.
And let's think about it and have a plan. Are we going exactly the same as Board of Adjustments? Are we, are we really gonna interview for this one too?
Or would you have those two people just come to the
Stay on
meeting
until
yet?
a decision
Kind of
is made?
Extend their,
Yeah, I
Well,
agree with
here-
you, Jack.
Yeah, here's the thing, they can continue to go, you know what I mean? We should still have an interview, or open it up to the public to allow that opportunity to come. What I think the goal of the board a long time ago was, and what I'm definitely for, is automatic reappointments. Well, I was in, and yep, I want to continue on. So basically, it went from having a 3-year term to I have a 9-year term if I choose. So then you're not allowing other people to have the opportunity. So it's kind of like when we are up for re-election, it's not like, well, you want to run again? Okay, you got the job. No, it gets opened up. And if nobody runs again, you run unopposed, yeah, you get it back. But if somebody else is interested, at least give them a shot at the opportunity, which is what the intent was. So I want to make sure that we still continue down that road. So if
Can we ask them to just stay on until we get this in writing in 2 weeks?
I think you better, if you want them to stay on, you better reappoint them for like a month or 2 months or some set term, because otherwise I don't think they officially can.
Well, we don't-
implement
we don't-
yet.
Yeah,
The
and there's
planning
there's
commission-
going to be a planning commission meeting or two before we get this
yeah, that's.
hashed
one
through,
we should-
so.
However, there's
Yeah,
there's
I
another
know.
side to this. We have a planning commission meeting, doesn't go until the 4th week of the month, so you still have 3 more weeks. But even if you had 2 people off, you still have a quorum. And just like we did last time, we had 2 people off. We just had the planning
Yeah.
commission is a member of 5. So if I would say you could determine right now that needs to go out for public notice that you have 2 positions open. If it comes back that there's people that want to be on there, then we go through the same process we did last time with the planning commission. If nobody's interested, then they can get reappointed to continue on.
But what if they are interested? How are we handling if we have 2 people both interested for the position? Where are we going from there? Are we having a rank? and then we're having an interview, or how are we handling it from there?
Well, it'd default back to what we have on the books right now for filling a planning commission vacancy.
Which is, I don't know.
Tessa's got that. We've got that because we just did it last year.
The fly in the ointment here is that at this point, Mr. Hafner is also on the Board of Adjustment.
Right, but the Board of Adjustment will have to reappoint somebody, and knowing that Mr.
But
Hafner's...
the Planning Commission has to appoint whoever is going on the Board of Adjustment.
Right, yep.
So
So they can do that on the fourth week of this month, because we got a board meeting this fourth week. So then at that point, they can say, we need somebody else to be on the Board of Adjustment, because...
it makes the timeline a little tight. That's why I brought it up.
So we'd have to let Larry know he doesn't come to the meetings? I mean, he's on the,
Well, I think we're definitely overthinking this and trying to make this more complicated than it is.
Yeah.
What should have happened is back in November, it should have been, hey, these positions are up. Beginning of December, it goes out and it's already done. But we're a month behind.
Yeah,
So
we didn't do
it gets just delayed a month. So those two individuals wouldn't be coming to the planning commission meeting because they haven't officially been reappointed, because we have to go out for public notice on what to do. Because Larry's not sitting there at that meeting, they appoint somebody else new to the Board of Adjustment. Simple.
Okay.
I knew that.
But basically that eliminates Larry from going to the Board of Adjustments, right?
yeah, it does.
Which is fine, because, nothing to say that he wouldn't have said, I don't want to be on it again, and they'd appoint somebody else, or, it's just a representative from the planning commission to send to the Board of Adjustment. So you just pick from your pool of people who wants to go on the Board of Adjustment.
I'd like to table this till I can think about it. I don't know how this all works. So, taking Larry off of a chance to go where he wants to go, or where somebody might want him to go, because we didn't get our stuff done ahead of time, doesn't seem right either.
But it's...
Or we could have just appoint these two people for a 3-month period. That'll give us time to
But then the kicker is
advertise it.
then you're back to the same thing.
But
All of a
we
sudden Larry
would give
says,
us
yeah, I'll be on
time
the
to
Board of
advertise
Adjustment, and then all of a sudden your term's up, and now you come off the Board of Adjustment at that time. I mean, whether you do it 3 months from now or you do it now, it shouldn't matter. And if his term is expired and we go out and we have 40 applicants, let's say, and somebody else gets the position, well, they'd have to reappoint for the Board of Adjustment anyway. I mean, it's no different than what we're doing on our committees now.
It just buys us some time to get our ducks in a row here, how we're gonna do it. I mean,
Yeah.
I think we could appoint them for 3 months.
I guess I'm confused. I'm only confused on why our ducks aren't in a row already. We have a term expired, so we need to put out the public notice and go through the process. I mean, that's how it has to be. That's what we voted on. That's what the process and procedure is.
Except for we didn't do it.
Except for it's just a month later.
Right, we didn't do it, right, and we need to do it, but we need to appoint somebody until we get it done.
Technically, we don't, only because you still have a quorum, because the planning commission's a member of 7, so you still have 5 people that still make it a quorum. So even if you didn't have those 2 people on there for a month,
I think
can
we
still
should just
continue
appoint
business.
them for 3 months and then work out our details personally.
Yeah, just appointing those 2 people for 3 months would let us sort of off the hook on this, so we've got a better chance to get our ducks lined up.
and we just have to make sure in the future that
We
this
do
needs to
this.
be done in November, not...
We dropped the ball. We should have done this we should have had this discussion in November.
And,
You're absolutely
I don't know
right.
that we really ever completely revisited how we're setting up the planning
Nope, we
commission,
never did.
No.
They just reapply, and if they're running unopposed, but if they're not unopposed, I don't think we ever went through that like we did the planning commission. Do we just?
Well, we sort of
Yeah, we
did.
Yeah.
We sort of,
Maybe I'm just
But it
not
wasn't
remembering.
real
it.
good.
We were okay with that, but we still had to decide Board of Adjustment for sure.
We did that. We did approve the Board of Adjustment
Or
plan.
the planning.
the planning commission has to appoint one person to to the Board of Adjustment, and at this point in time, that person is Mr. Hafner, who is up on the Planning Commission. That's the
Well, I think
crux
Scott's
of it.
question is, did we finalize how we appoint to the planning commission?
Right.
Yeah.
And you said
I thought we did.
Well, we approved the what is on there for now for a policy of how we were
Yeah.
going to do it.
We
And
haven't
the reason
done it.
why I know that was done was that was the big discussion, and we had 3 options, and it got dragged out for months as to how that was gonna be, and we finally did. And then we said, well, we'll do the planning commission, but we'll wait for the Board of Adjustment till the next year so that we have alternating terms. So that's why the Board of
Yeah.
Adjustment got put off a year.
You're right. No, that's my recollection.
Probably right. No, I'm assuming you are. I just don't remember how our policy went then. If somebody, so are we interviewing, like, or we just, if they reapply, we vote? Or how did we decide on planning commission? If there's more than one, I don't remember.
What that policy was?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that, I don't recall the specifics because there were so many options. I thought it was the same thing where it was each commissioner gets to see
Gets
the
to-
applicants, and then they were ranked,
Ranked.
and then the top, I think it was the top 2, if there is more than 2,
Interview.
have an interview. I think it's almost the same thing
Both.
as we did for the Board of Adjustment. And we can ask Tess on that if you want to revisit this next time.
Yeah, I'd like to at least, maybe if we're gonna make them, it doesn't sound like they're that close, we should make them exactly the same.
Yeah.
Or,
Well, I'm
you know,
fine with making them
and
both
maybe
the
we
same.
are, I don't know. I'd
Should
like to
we,
look back and revisit what we did on that.
Should we revisit the, maybe bring those both side by side, the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment? Because I'm fine making them both the same.
Yeah.
I like how the Board of Adjustment one is.
Yep. Only thing I didn't like, and I remember discussing it at the time, that it seems like for the appointed, I remember Fred Difffield bringing up, do we really make them go through, fill out an application and interview for the planning commission also? And I don't know what we decided.
It seemed to me that the Board of Adjustment process,
We thought that needed more.
because of the importance of that
Right.
board, was a little bit, we could allow that to become a little more thorough and a little bit, for lack of a better word, cumbersome. But the Planning Commission needed to be
Yeah. Well, let's
streamlined,
at least first
simplified,
take a look at
whatever.
what we did with the planning commission
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
I
And
think we did the same, but I think we just ranked and filed
I
them.
think that was it. Yeah, now that you say that, I don't think there, was there, I don't even know if there was an interview.
We obviously have to revisit this. We just can't do this stuff. We just got to leave it go. But the question then becomes again, how do we deal with the situation, and
I
are we
would make
going
a
to be able to
motion.
get it done on 2 weeks from today, in time to allow the Planning Commission to make its appointment to the Board of Adjustment?
Well, let's do this.
To me, that's the crux of it.
Okay, so let's do this. I guess we have an issue on the Planning Commission right now with this Winnebago court, okay? I would feel comfortable if we're going to postpone the term, or extend the term.
Right.
Let's go back and look at 3 weeks when we have another meeting. Let's look at the side-by-side comparison between the Planning Commission and the Board of Adjustment procedures, okay?
Okay.
Come February, we could put out the notice at the beginning of the month that there's a vacancy.
Right.
Leave the 2 on for an extended time until March 1st. The
Yep.
reason I say that is we have a vote being taken on the Corey. Those 2 are familiar with the situation. Having 2 new individuals come in right now
Would be.
fine. I get it that in the
Yep.
future that may happen.
Right.
But because we didn't get this done in time, that would be my only issue.
Is that a motion?
No, I'm just
Still thinking, still talking. Yep.
But I'm just saying if we're gonna do that, I would do that.
No, and you bring up a good point. In the middle of this, as long as we didn't get something, follow our own ideas.
Yeah. And in the
Let's-
future, we can make sure that this doesn't happen again, that we have
Right.
our ducks in a row come.
And how do we do this? I mean, is it so that we're, if you're not on these boards, you don't realize somebody's due I didn't realize that
Well,
some of these terms.
but we should have record of it, because, I mean,
Yeah.
we got record of this.
Right.
When terms are up, that,
I mean,
and we should just always have it that November
right,
1st.
November 1st, we look at our boards and say,
Yeah.
Who's expiring at the end of this
Right.
year, so we can, because then you can have it print, have it out to the public, say, middle of November, so that December 1st, you
yeah,
can kind of start having it, and then they could be appointed in the middle of December, and then take office in January, just like the
Right.
commissioners do when you're elected in October,
Right.
you don't take office till January.
yep. And it gives the full board the chance to be involved with all this, so we
Yeah.
keep pushing things to right at that snap time at the end of the year.
Yep.
Make a motion for a 2-month extension for the planning commission
Planning
members
commission
that
members.
Hafner and Hamel.
are Hefner and Hamel.
Sounds like a law firm.
For planning commission.
Second.
I almost hate to ask any further discussion. Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that part is done. Thank you. Now, we're continuing with our review of
Next one is
appointments.
safety committee, and it's Scott's on it right now.
I'm fine with the safety committee.
Okay, EMS, I'm on that one. I'll stay on that unless somebody wants to check out Rochester meetings on Wednesdays. No, they're Thursdays actually too. I can stay on EMS. And that, they also have workforce development the same day, so I will stay on that one too. Then the next one is Southeast Minnesota Water Resource Board. And it's Fred's on that, with Justin as the alternate.
Yeah, this one, yeah. Okay,
Okay.
that's fine.
Justin,
See
you
our
still want to be
names
an
there.
alternate for that?
Yeah, I'll stay an alternate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just had to make sure.
The Communications Board, which used to be, is Jack right now with, I'm an alternate on that.
Yeah.
You want to stay?
Well, I'm the chairman this year, so I better.
Okay.
Would be nice to leave you there.
Yeah.
Selco is, Scott is the main person and Justin is the alternate.
I'm fine with Silco.
SEMCAC is, right now it's Scott, but Justin's going to take that over, right? Because it's in Rushford. I think I
Yeah,
heard you
solicitors
say-
with that, and then the one that was up here.
Well,
Is that kind of the same thing?
yeah, kind of the same thing.
Well, actually, SEMCAC's in,
Oh, Rochester.
No,
Or St. Charles.
St.
yep.
Charles.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. This, it's kind of both the same.
Sure.
But this one, you go to St. Charles. This one, I only had one of, where am I getting myself confused here?
Here,
Oh, there we are, yeah, multi-county housing. And meets quarterly at Simcac in Rushford. Went to it once, it was canceled once. And that's as far as I ever knew of.
Okay.
So they say quarterly, but I think they might have tried a conference call and I couldn't attend that, so I went once.
Sure.
Basically, I guess more we're probably asking for Simcac. They're Mondays in St. Charles. But that's not as close as you're thinking in Rushford.
No, and the only issues we got are
Yeah.
like on Monday nights.
Okay. I can keep Simcac too. I've only done them a year and I'm just starting to know what's going on, so
Sure.
probably wouldn't hurt to do another one.
Okay, the next one is Southern Minnesota Tourism Association, and that's Jack. Do
I
they
don't-
meet, is
I
that
don't
the one
know.
they
I've
meet
never
in
been to a
Mankato?
meeting.
I thought they met like in Mankato or somewhere
We
like
have
that.
nothing under them for what they do or.
Have you
Oh,
guys
Smart
been
Trails
noticed on those
Tourism.
meetings?
Oh,
Charlie?
okay.
Maybe they're not meeting.
Pardon?
Maybe they don't meet.
I don't know. Well, let me see if I can find a website for them and then.
Yeah, I wonder if our Or, what's Courtney? Does she?
Yeah, she'd maybe.
She maybe even
And I have
goes.
a meeting
I
with
don't
her
know.
tomorrow, so,
Yeah, we do.
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Seven Rivers were all on that, but I haven't been to a meeting for a couple years, I know. So I don't know how often they do meet. Smart Trails, we had Jack was on Smart Trail. They meet 6 times per year in Rochester.
Yeah, I would stay on there.
Okay. Township officers, I've been on there, and Fred's my alternate.
Yeah,
But,
fine.
Water Planning Committee, we have 2 people up. Are they willing
They
to?
both want another term.
Okay.
See, that's where I don't see where the people are up at.
Oh, I could be sharing this, couldn't I?
No,
I
I'm
do
good.
like this.
I do like
faster.
this, yeah. I like this layout.
Workforce Development, I'll keep that again.
That's it.
And that's the last one.
Okay.
And then do we also have to, so we need a motion to approve all the assignments to the committees, right? I'll make a
Yeah, we need that
to do
motion.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion carried.
Now, just for clarification, we are tabling Justin changing
Yes.
on planning commission, right? And we'll talk about that in 2 weeks. Okay, I've
Yeah.
got that on the agenda.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about it
We
next,
approve
yeah, in 2
until
weeks,
March
yeah, 2 weeks,
1st.
that's right. Okay, consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. Discussion items, commissioner reports and comments.
I didn't have any meetings last week.
Hey, I get to start from the other end of the
Yeah.
table. I don't have to lead this off. That's nice.
I didn't have any meetings last week.
I either.
Mr.
Justin.
Zimieski?
No.
I didn't have a meeting, but I was, I would mention I was at the farewell, or forget the exact title. New Year's Eve at the Legion in La Crescent, and it was arranged as a kind of a farewell to the building and a fundraiser. Very well attended. Good evening. The everything's rolling along. They expect to break ground this spring and have it completed in early 2019. They've selected they've selected a motel chain, and I'm not going to remember it. I didn't jot it down. And the general contractor will be Weezer Brothers, and they mentioned 3 or 4 reasons why they were chosen, and sounds like a good choice. And if any of you'd like to buy a brick, there's still could use quite a bit of money yet, but I think they had one anonymous $250,000 donation,
Wow.
which was
That's a lot of bricks.
well received.
Yeah.
But so it's an exciting project. I'm very happy to see it moving
That ought to
forward.
get you a pillar.
So
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Jeez.
that's that east wall.
Right.
Okay, well, I've got a couple of things, as usual. I talked a couple meetings ago about doing a little spade work on the county administrator position that we have talked about. And basically what I was looking for, and I think it's what I talked about, was that everything we've heard up to this point has been tremendously positive about starting that position. And I was looking for, there's got to be somebody out there that doesn't really think this is a very good idea from somebody that's tried it. I spent, probably half an hour on the phone with a chap from AMC, Matt, I can't remember. Hilgard, yes. You've met him, yeah. And his basic thing was that what you need to do is to be very, very careful in writing up your job description so that the board is on the same page as to what you really expect that individual to do. And then you do your interview process, your advertising process with that job description pretty firmly in mind. And that would, he feels, tend to eliminate a lot of the difficulties that we've heard about. And then, I mean, obviously, the board changes, the community changes, there are changing expectations of that job, and that's why the job is, as described, usually at the pleasure of the board. You have to be rather careful if you're going to dismiss somebody. You have to be rather careful how you do it. We've seen a county in the neighborhood that got into trouble that way because they didn't follow their process. But that's the first thing. And then I started talking about those, what do you really do on a job description thing for this kind of position. And so I have gotten 8 different job descriptions from different counties in Minnesota. I tried to email them to Justin, and I couldn't get the thing forwarded. So one way or another, I will get those job descriptions to everybody, hopefully in the next day or two.
Well, let me interject,
So,
Fred, on that. We had talked a couple meetings ago about a planning session, a retreat, whatever we wanted to.
yeah,
And I think we should go forward with that now that we're starting the new year and we have some issues, I think, that are very important to get a perspective on. And so we need to just, if you agree, we need to pick dates and times here to get that ball rolling.
we could do that potentially. We've got an open, quote, unquote, open date next Tuesday.
That one I won't be here for. I'm going to California.
Takes care of that.
I think it works best to do it after a 9 o'clock meeting. You know, on a day that we have a 9 o'clock meeting, do it after that, after, you know,
Could we do
noon or
lunch?
one.
Yeah, that'd be in
While we're
3
here
weeks.
already.
That'd be in 3 weeks. That'd be the last.
So let's do, if you did it in 3 weeks,
Oh, wait, is that the evening?
No.
No, we left the evening on the 3rd.
Okay.
so we'd be at the last meeting
The
in
last
January.
meeting,
In
yeah,
January.
just extend that,
Yes.
that day.
And of course, that makes a problem for people that need to go to get to Mabel. We can see about it at the time.
For the board.
Yeah, we could put on the agenda planning session, strategic planning session, whatever,
Okay.
whatever terminology we want to
Just put
use.
board retreat.
And then we'll just have to see what happens. And if you've got to get to Mabel, you've got to get to Mabel, and we can postpone it till the next month.
Sure.
Tess has an 11 o'clock union negotiation
Oh, that's
session
right,
on the
24th.
23rd.
That's right. Well, we don't have to do it on a Tuesday.
No, we could do it on another day.
No.
We could do it the 30th. We don't have a meeting, January 30th.
It's the 5th Tuesday of the month.
Sure, that's the 5th.
Yeah, just do it in the morning, like 9, 10 o'clock or something.
Yeah.
Do it till
January 30th at
noon
9
or something.
o'clock?
Sounds good.
Is this open?
Yes.
Gotta be
Yeah,
open.
it has
It's
to
a
be
fifth
posted.
retreat.
But then the question is, where do you want to meet?
Right.
Right here.
Right here.
So it's taped.
We could meet around a table, sit around a table.
Well,
I don't
you
know.
But
want
we
it
have to have the
taped.
public.
Oh, yeah.
If you
we
want
have
it
to-
taped, you better have it here.
You gotta have it
Yeah,
here.
we'll just have it here.
Can we order coffee and rolls? If it's a retreat?
Yeah, they're doing it now.
Oh, we can't use.
Who's gonna
I guess,
I'll bring donuts
Okay.
from the Caledonia Bakery.
Then I'll come.
okay, but now here's, I'm gonna throw another wrench into this deal.
Please do.
The whole point of having like the retreat and having that is to kind of get away from the county, you know, like what the administrator, like Craig was saying, that they do, was it quarterly or something, and they'll meet somewhere else. Otherwise, you kind of, it's just a board meeting.
But how do we
Yeah.
avoid I wasn't at that meeting. How do
Well,
we
we have to
avoid
post it either way. We have to.
You've got to post.
It's open to the public, but
Yeah.
he was just saying like their board will go somewhere else, like they might go out of county or they might do something just to kind of get away from the whole courthouse environment and just the board meet at a restaurant or something and talk, or, you know, at a library somewhere or whatever, to get it, just to kind of have a retreat to get away from the environment, to just talk amongst the board members. The public's still welcome. It's still obviously recorded as a meeting, but it was, it's done that way for productive reasons. So otherwise, it's just considered another board meeting, and then you kind of come into the same issues and whatever. So
Yeah.
that's why they kind of do their retreats off campus.
Okay, we wouldn't be able to do this until, well, maybe we could do it earlier. Okay, go ahead. I'm
Do you
still
want to still use
ruminating.
the 30th, but
That's what I'm thinking, the 30th. but-
between now and then, pick a
Yeah, a
location
venue
if you
or
want to
something,
make it
yeah.
You know. We,
And that'll give us time to talk to Sam
Right.
and make sure that what we're doing is kosher.
And I would,
Yeah.
I would maybe, Sam should, or the board should, or whatever, check with, you know, we know Mauer County does, what do they do? Just check with them, because that was, you know, Craig had brought up that they do that,
Okay.
just find out kind of what they do, and we can kind
Right.
of follow suit.
Yep. I mean, I think it's a good idea, but let's work it out to
Yeah.
the best of our advantage, so that, like you said, I believe in the retreat is, you know, even if you go up to uptown someplace and have a breakfast meeting or something.
One note of caution with that, when we first started having EDA meetings, they were gonna do it around the county in restaurants, and I was supposed to go take minutes, and we couldn't hear. So
Yeah.
make sure you have a private room or something where
Right.
the
Yeah.
sound is,
Yeah, good idea though, right.
it's hard to take minutes when there's a lot of.
Right,
Yeah.
when it's completely open.
Go down to one of the bars on 3rd Street and cross.
Yeah, nobody else would pay
Saturday night.
attention to you.
Okay. We are not, I don't think, we are definitely locked into really doing anything relative to this administrator thing. We're simply, this is for the press, we are simply seriously exploring that option. There's a long ways to go yet. There's a lot of discussion. There's a possibility we don't even agree on a job description, and if we can't agree on a job description, there's no real point in opening a position. So we're a ways away yet.
Does the fact that we lowered the levy to the minus 0.5 for 18 put it off to 19 anyway?
I wouldn't
Because
see
we
that as
wouldn't
being an
have the extra funds
No,
for
'cause you still got general funds, you still have other potential savings. I know that was the one thing that Craig mentioned, and the one thing that AMC keeps pounding on too, is that this is a position that money shouldn't be the driving factor as to whether or not you implement this position.
Well, we'd have to pay, what did we figure, 120,000?
Which we still have plenty of in our general funds to
Which
cover that.
But we brought it down because by reducing it, we took away that excess.
Well, we have millions of dollars in the general funds, so I wouldn't worry about that one iota. The other thing is, you know, implementing an administrator too, there's potential for savings once they're hired. You know, we talk about restructuring, we talk about finding different efficiencies within departments. I know Craig made that comment when he was here. Like I said, AMC keeps bringing that up too, that this is a position, if done correctly, will more than pay for itself through cost savings and efficiencies. So, yeah, I don't believe that should be a driving factor at all.
Well, we're not.
Excuse me, I spoke with Carol, our finance director, about this very question, and she assured me that that would not really be a operational problem. So,
But I think at least if we retreat, we can talk more.
now, it's also the last thing on our agenda, and closing public comment isn't there, so we'll get to that if anybody has an interest. Discussing the census situation.
Well, I did get forward what I heard from the state demographer, and there's a meeting in Rochester, which is free, doesn't cost anything, to get information on what they would expect from a county or how we can help get an accurate count in Houston County. And I would be glad to go. I did talk to different departments, and none of the departments are able to help with it, so maybe we already can't do anything.
Right.
But I don't know that till I hear what they really want us to do. Do they gather the information and then send it to somebody in the county to verify? Which is what I understood from her when I talked to her at AMC. It's mainly the fact that we get $1,500 per person, which if we don't have everybody counted, we're losing money. So I think it's worth our time to go to that information meeting, or should we just forget it and let them do the count and hope?
I think it'd be well worth it to go. I mean, what can it hurt? It's free, pay for our mileage or something, you know. Maybe they got something, maybe we can talk to the cities and maybe they review it and say, well, we think we have more people. Brownsville says, you know, that can't be right. We know we have more people than that. You know, probably won't work that way, but maybe they have a way. I mean, we can't, you know, we're not planning on spending a lot of money to make sure of this, but if they have any ideas on how we could help cheaply to find people that they might not find. I mean, that's what we're looking for, is anybody they might not find.
Well, where's the $1,500 come in?
That's what we get paid from the, per person from the federal programs.
federal and
Distribute-
state, so it
The
gets
federal programs
distributed down.
distribute $1,500 per person per year to state and local governments in Minnesota based on the census count.
So hold on, so we take, so say there's 19,000 people in the county, you take 1,500 times 19,000?
Right. And if we
In
don't,
all your different aids. You know, it's split up at all
it's
100
divided
different
between the
ways,
aids,
but
that we get from the federal government.
but
and
that's how they decide mostly.
Sort of average you're talking about?
So that's-
Well, that's what she said.
Yeah.
To give you a sense of the payoff, the largest 16 federal programs
Right.
distribute about $1,500 per person per year to state and local governments in Minnesota on the basis of the census count, or 15,000 per person counted over a
I
course
think
of a
whatever the
decade.
legislature puts in a pot, they're gonna break it up by these numbers that you get from the census and tell you how much your piece of that pie is.
Probably just affect your CPA too,
Excuse me?
your county program.
Right. And I think the
Teresa?
only benefit to this is if you can find people that they might not find.
So
Yeah.
if we have 19,000 people, we're going to get $28,500,000?
Divided between all the different federal programs that we get.
So it's like when. whenever
But,
they
but
say,
it's
like,
also, what you said, I think, was key there that we lose sight of. That is $1,500 per person that comes basically to the state of
and local
Minnesota.
governments.
And then by the time they get done taking what they want out of it, well, then maybe we actually get something ourselves, and maybe it all goes to basically state programs, and eventually we might see.
Which are human service programs.
Yeah,
or
it's the
public
money
health
we get,
programs.
it's the money we get in human services and whatnot. It's not like if we miss
They don't send us
somebody,
a check,
it's
though.
gonna cost us $1,500 necessarily.
That's
But
right.
the other thing that I'm concerned about is maybe a little duplication of effort here, because what I'm told in the assessor's office is that someone from the Census Bureau does come to the county, to the assessor's office specifically, periodically, I'm guessing every 6 months or a year, and try to track down through the assessor's office any changes that have happened that might increase or decrease population. So is this already being done?
Well, that's what we're saying. We don't know. Why not go to the meeting and find
Yeah,
out?
let's just.
Where could there be
yeah.
a possibility that we could help without spending much money? Because we
Yeah.
don't know how it works. Do they go door to door? Do they ask how many people live? We don't know how the whole system works. You know, so what possibly could we do? I didn't see why GIS would be any use.
GIS is not.
You know, I don't see even
We
how
we
any
could
one
do,
department could
theoretically,
really be
we
of
could do a
use.
whole lot of work, and then all of that stuff that we would do for the, quote, Census Bureau, unquote, we can't use that for our own purposes. It's theirs. So it's an entirely separate thing.
Yeah.
If we're going to do any work for it, we have to fund it. We don't really get anything out of it except maybe $1,500 per, and we might find out that we're losing population instead of gaining.
Well, you can't
but,
lose.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna do the work no matter what.
We need to go
You're
to a
basically-
meeting. Yeah.
Could you verify more people than them somehow?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all you'd be looking for.
Are,
Is there a
are,
way that
no,
we could
are they
help
going to
verify
miss
more?
somebody? Can we help them find somebody?
That they might not find. Would there be a
Yeah.
veterans home, a nursing home, or would there be, something, maybe the Amish, we don't have much, but that they might not be getting that we might know about somehow.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could see ever coming of this.
The meeting is when?
The 24th
It's January
of January.
24th from 10 to 4 in Rochester.
What day of the week is that?
Whatever the 24th
Be a
is.
Wednesday? No, or Friday.
Let's see, the 26th is a Saturday.
And it
So
must
you
be a
have
Friday.
Christmas party on the 26th. I believe.
24th is a Wednesday.
26th, my Christmas party's on a Friday, I guess.
Okay, and then what time?
It's from 10 to 4 up in Rochester. And I didn't register anybody. The lady really pushed it at AMC, and that's where I got all the information to bring to us. But Cindy said she checked with.
So can you send
Schneid-
only one person, or?
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
can,
so.
you can only send one?
No, you can send anybody you want.
Right, I'm sure you can send.
I'm looking for a volunteer or volunteers on this.
And I volunteered already, that I would
Okay.
go to it.
Any other volunteers?
No, I
Teresa
I
said
had
she
planned
would
on
go.
going originally,
Okay,
but.
we've got two
but I-
volunteers.
it doesn't
That's
mean that
good.
we could do the work.
Right, I mean, I don't,
Yeah,
probably nothing come of it, but why not find out if they
Well,
can find
yeah.
some way to
yeah. Let's
say,
at least
well, if you
find
did
out. It
this or
could
this,
be.
maybe you send it to each city and say, this is what they're
Yep.
coming up with in your area. Does that sound reasonable? And we said, no, we thought we had 300,000 people in that. I mean, I'm sure nothing probably will, but for some hours, if we could, it's probably due diligence.
Okay. Are we ready for closing public comment, if any? You're on.
Yvonne Krogstad, Caledonia Township. A couple of things. You approved somewhere around $1 million of equipment for the highway department.
560,000. 560.
I had 523,000 for mechanic's truck.
No,
I
no,
must
that's
have
total, that's
No, no,
total.
no.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I thought, whoa.
I'd like to
Heck
see
of a
that
truck.
truck.
Yeah. Anyway,
A
my
Mercedes.
comment was, it seemed like there's duplicate equipment for them and the surveyors, and I would like to see more sharing of equipment when possible in the county. My other comment is the Planning and Zoning Commission. I actually went through an interview process the last time the Planning and Zoning Board members were changed. One thing to remember is that according to the ordinance, it's supposed to be, if possible, a person from each district. And my final comment is your retreat. The Caledonia Township meets in the room at Elsie's. It's large, and they close the doors for a meeting. So just a suggestion.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is a nice area.
I would just comment that I'm not accusing you, but I think you heard my comment to Fred concerning the surveyor, because it's exactly what I said to him. I think we need to look at duplication of equipment and, a county this size needing what is that thing we bought for $56,000?
Well, except for
Total station and the GPS.
Yeah, I have real questions about that, but thank
Right.
you.
Well, and I'll add
You
to that,
are
though-
not the only one that's uncomfortable.
I'll add to that, though, that some of that electronics equipment, when it gets to a certain age, is not worth much. That sometimes it's worth it more to us to have as a backup system than to get rid of it, I don't even know who would buy a 10-year-old GPS. Like, hey, I want a 10-year-old GPS.
Yeah.
So I think as far as having old hand-me-down equipment, I have nothing with. I don't think buying brand new equipment for two necessarily departments within a few years of each other would make any financial sense. But,
Well,
having some hand-me-down stuff, I guess I don't mind
How
as
old
bad.
is the surveyor's equipment?
I don't know offhand. I don't know.
He said they handed it down, what the surveyor has was handed down from the county when Dick left. So they handed down, when they bought the total station, they handed that down
They-
to the county.
Yeah, they
To
handed
the-
down their old GPS or their old total station or something when you're right.
So, I mean, they are definitely working in conjunction with anything each other can use. I know that. And I do know from experience, like your GPS units, they're used daily, at least for the county. I mean, if you're ever out to do anything, you might get by with some months in the winter where you get by, but everything you do out there is walking around with this GPS pogo stick. But boy, then you get caught where you can't get the trees, the clouds that day. Then you got to pull out the total station and do it. You can't just say, we quit. Everybody I ever known has both systems with them at all times because it's just mandatory to get anything done.
You mean both the surveyor and the highway department has it with them at all times?
Yep.
So they can't share?
It's really impossible. I mean, if you say you need it on Thursday, then they can't do anything on Thursday, because
Well,
this
that's where,
survey-
that's where departments work together.
Yeah, but they have to both get jobs done. Like the county, for road construction, they're using it every day if the weather's, you pull it out, you gotta have it to stake any culvert, anything.
Okay.
Because it's all set up on, everything you have on a plan is set up off of GPS.
Right.
If you can't get the GPS, you have to bring out the total station, go to a GPS coordinate and compute it from there with the total station. But you can't just say, I'm giving this up for maybe a day, but not for, you can't have it for a week, Just saying, been there, my opinion. But there's hand-me-down stuff, maybe you don't need as good a stuff for this. It's not used on a daily basis by the survey office. Maybe they could use a older model.
Yeah. Okay. Before we adjourn, I'll make a comment. being chair carries a certain amount of risk and responsibility with it, but I had an excellent model to follow. And one thing that I observed in the past year, I think Mr. Miller always took the job very seriously and did a good job with being chair. I appreciated that. And the other part of it is he did that without taking himself too seriously. I hope to copy that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well done, Jack.
You'll do a good job. Brad, I'm confident.
With help. Can't do it alone. Absolutely can't do it alone. It takes everybody helping. Thank you. Motion for adjournment's in order, I believe.
So move.
Second.
Everybody's in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye. Nobody opposed.